Hey there, I'm Thanos. Emboar is intended for listeners that have finished reading Worm and are passively familiar with Worm's many fanworks. Fanworks talked about during the show may be spoiled during discussion, and if you're going to listen anyway, ignoring this warning, you will be balanced. You've been warned.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Etch and Misha's Bad Opinions and Reviews, your premier podcast on the internet talking about obscure fan fiction for an obscure internet serial.
Canadian web
serial. As always, yes. I am Misha.
I'm Etch Jetty, or Etch for long.
And today we're joined by our illustrious guest.
For short, I'm sorry.
Capital T0PH4T. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. How's it going?
Yep, this is, as many of you know, Top Hat.
That is, in fact, the correct way to pronounce it.
I thought it was pronounced T0P.
Oh my god, I will actually end you both.
Who was last seen 54 minutes ago viewing the Sunspot thread. So,
Hi.
Thank you for that patronage.
I actually have not read any part of Sunspot. I just have that tab permanently opened. It's along with all
Rip.
Same.
Rip.
But no, actually, though, I do intend to read it someday, and specifically, I'd like to read it while doing a live blog, because this seems like the sort of material we should encourage.
Okay, so, let's kick off the show real quick. One of y'all, what kind of worm fic have y'all been reading recently?
I consistently fail at this duty as a host.
Too honest.
You know what? I'm gonna blame something for this. I watched Cats on Friday, and ever since then I haven't been the same person.
No. You can't do that. That's like me saying I saw The Rise of Skywalker last week, therefore I can't do any productive work.
I also saw The Rise of Skywalker. You know what? That's also a good excuse.
My god, you are both just horrible people. Your taste is terrible.
I don't.
No wonder
I saw Cats. Here's the thing. I saw Cats first, and then I saw Rise of Skywalker because I have my priorities.
I was going to say you must hate.
No.
Yourself.
You actually do have your priorities straight. I do believe that at the very least, Cats has some artistic merit.
It's just the stage play. That's it. It's just the musical.
Yeah, no. The musical had some artistic merit. Where was the genius in Skywalker?
Memory.
At least J.J. Abrams couldn't fuck this one up.
Give him 5 years. All right.
Cats 2. The return of
Lens Flare.
Bartholomew.
Welcome to Emboar, where we sometimes talk about worm fan fiction. I have read a little bit, not too much. I read a little bit of a worm fic called We Appreciate Power this week, and that it was on recommendation.
Oh, is that,
that's
what's his name, Taoists?
No, that's the Emma Barnes Peggy Sue.
Huh.
Oh.
Where she is completely fucking batshit insane, and her entire philosophy in life revolves around making sure Taylor never triggers.
What?
Like, she's
that is different.
She's completely crazy. Like, so I actually did read the first 2 chapters of this when this came out, because as you two know, I like Emma as a character. Like, I like her character. I like all the things you could do with her character.
You approve of the abomination that is Fremma?
No. Anyway, so like when I first saw this, I was like, this is great. This might be what I've been looking for a long time out of wormfic. And then I took a look, and I was like, I don't like this characterization where Emma just is kind of crazy. I think I've been told she gets better as if it goes on, but I've read like another chapter or 2 since the first 2 chapters. But I've been told like it's good entertainment, and it's just also like a really interesting take on an Emma. So I think I'll stick with it for a little bit longer. And that's the one thing I've been reading. That's about it.
I have been glancing at the beginnings of the chapters of Typewriter, in Golden Armor, and all the other things that my Discord friends have posted, that I've been too busy to read because I'm a terrible friend.
Mood.
But apparently it's the new typewriter is out, and the title looks really cool. I'm just a piece of shit and haven't actually read it yet. And by the time this episode goes up in like 5 months, I'll probably have read it. So I'm just gonna give a preemptive. Wow, it was great. I loved it. Blew my mind.
Not sure how I feel about that. Yeah. Personally, I don't read a lot of wormfic. One, because I have school very consistently, and that takes reading several novels a week. But when I do, I do focus on people, sort of authors that are a known quantity. Recently, I've read Oxto's Snip, Cherished Father, which kind of... Oxto always does very frequently does Taylor snips, but always creates these very interesting AUs. And in this particular case, Danny gets like the bad karma power, which I appreciate a lot, and she ends up with a Cherish-esque ability.
Oh, wait, is that like the bad karma power that was alluded to
in the Reddit post?
Is it in a Reddit post where it's like
Danny at different triggering events?
Oh, never mind. I was thinking a different one where it's like some noble has like this power where like if you beat the shit out of him, you lose all your friends. Shit like that.
No, like the idea behind what's his name? Danny's power would have been that he could just say this person in particular is going to make everyone frustrated, get a lot of bad luck from like, things falling apart around them physically, and then like vermin attacking them. And over time it's going to become worse and worse and worse until they're dead.
Okay.
And it's like citywide ability. Like, you can't really escape. And I can't remember the exact trigger events it was supposed to, but Taylor ends up budding off of that. Her father, like Danny goes to the birdcage because he just used it to kill a huge number of people, including Kaiser.
Oh, of course.
We stand murdering Nazis in this household, by the way.
We're gonna get copyright striked content claimed for that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's gotta go.
Oh no! But more seriously, it got
fictional Nazis.
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry about that. Oxto goes into Taylor's head in a way which I don't see a lot in Wormfic, and I think it helps me understand the character a little bit better. I'm also reading the one who was his freaking new
Gold Morning.
Yes, Gold Morning. Thank you. That is
Gold Morning.
Metal and Death. I love it. And also Menagerie, also by Oxto, which kind of has trans Taylor as is Oxto's want to do. Going into Arcadia. I've read the first chapter and was blown away, and I'm going to be reading the rest of it over my various work breaks.
Nice.
Yeah. I do remember one thing I actually did read, and didn't love, and I'm allowed to say it because it's Taoist and we're friends. Taylor is really strong in this one. His attempt at satire. I don't know. Like, this was written like a bad fic, where it's like, oh, she's really strong, and there's no payoff to that, haha. But like, it was just written like a bad fic,
If you try to fail and succeed, what have you done?
Yeah, I don't know.
Would you say like it didn't manage to satirize the thing it was trying to, and instead kind of
it wasn't really satire because it didn't really have an intent, like a very, very clear message of like, this specific thing is bad, and look at how bad it is by, I don't know, exaggeration or something. Like it was just kind of
letting it stand on its own, making people realize how awkward it is when
or just like
it.
Bringing it to its like full extent, running with it. Like, it didn't do any of that. Instead, it was just kind of generic and lazy.
It wasn't. I would say it sounds like it wasn't Mission Swords Caught in Your Web. Which takes... Yeah,
basically it's not Mission Swords Caught in Your Web is what I was complaining
about. By the way, Gaia, what is that? What do we get more of that one?
That fic
I don't know.
is genius. It is like the most unadulterated... I want to say it's the funniest fic in the fandom, actually. Like I love Maroon Sweater's work. I love every single piece of comedy she writes. I highly recommend reading all of her stuff. Like, I know that's the end of the episode, but I just think we need that multiple times. But...
Sure.
Mission Swords Caught in Your Web. That had literally made it difficult for me to breathe every chapter.
Yeah.
It's
the purest comedy fic in the fandom.
I still am so angered
by the payphone scene.
By the fucking payphone gag. There is only one other time in my entire life where I've been that caught off guard by a nonchalant joke, and the only other time that's happened was when I was in a production of The Importance of Being Earnest, and it's just the word draft. It's just the word draft, because it was just a stupid pun, but it never clicked in my head until I heard it someone said on stage. And for Mission Sword's payphone gag, it was the exact same thing. I was like, haha, okay, this is a bit on people going over the top in how they describe power mechanics and how they munchkin ways to solve all these little problems. And then it just literally ends on Taylor going, oh, that's right, emergency calls are free. And I have never been more annoyed. And I love it for that.
It's like...
it's so good.
Would you say it's like an onion?
It's got layers. Layers.
You know, parfaits have layers. Parfait has layers.
No, a parfait
waffles.
Doesn't have layers, but a trifle does.
Layers.
A parfait has layers.
What sort of...
Fuck you, a parfait has layers.
What sort of fucking parfaits are you eating? Like
blueberries on bottom, yogurt, and then like granola on top.
You mix them together so it's a consistent flavor throughout.
Yeah, after.
When it's presented.
But when you get the parfait in your fucking hand, it's got 3 layers.
But the thing is,
you don't go to McDonald's and order a pre-mixed fucking parfait. That's not how it works.
First off, I'll have you know we will
McDonald's.
First off, I will have you know we will mix your parfait for you if you ask. Customer is king. Second, I would actually have to point out that specifically you tend to not eat trifles sort of mixed together, and that makes a very clear distinction for me. And similarly, onions are like actually never ever mixed together, but since parfait is part of the consumption, typically for non-monsters.
You boil your onion with carrot and celery, then you fucking throw it out because all the flavor's been given up in your broth.
You chop onions, and then you have it.
Is that what happened to worm fanfiction?
Welcome to Emboar, where we talk about the methods of French cooking with your host, Esteemed. All right, moving on.
Hon. Oh. And that was our recommendation for Fletchette's Foodie Forays.
Oh, that's right. That's going to the spreadsheet, too. It'll come out every episode, hopefully.
Let's talk about Top Hat.
Yes. The reason why we're here tonight.
The most important person in the world.
I thought we were here tonight because you paid me. That's a joke.
Getting paid to do things you love. Just take some pride in your work, Etch.
Anyways. All right. Speaking of
pride in your work.
I have a different question to start off with, actually, for this interview. How did you get into Worm?
This is going to sound... Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I had finished Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, which is like...
I'm sorry.
In hindsight, it is...
We've all been there.
Yeah,
I've never read it.
It's fine. It's fine. It's skippable. It is not worth the amount of time I spent.
You know what? It had funny moments. It had genuinely funny moments.
Yeah, and also, like, death of the author, and you can find things in works. Anyway, moving on from that...
What, the big yud isn't... Whatever.
So,
big yud.
Imagine me as a freshman college student. I'm currently a senior college student. By the time this episode comes out, I may have graduated. So
honestly,
I have...
Probably.
Yeah, I have... Oof. I'm sorry, memes. But, I had run out of books to read, and I had tried to read Worm 2 times before. The first time, I did not get past the first chapter, because I just thought it was so abysmally written. Like, it read like reading fanfic.
Yeah, no. I was actually going to go into that, because I know you're probably one of the more outspoken creators in this fandom about your opinion on the lack of quality of Worm. So I want to get into that, actually. So tell me about, like, the first chapter. What was it about it that, just didn't appeal to you at all?
It felt like this is going to sound really bad. It felt like it lacked elegance. So when I think of books that I really enjoy, a lot of them you can barely feel the author's hand. Like, you know, like the conventions have shifted, and since then I've sort of gained appreciation for the other works in order to like be able to study literature. Mm-hmm. But my favorite types of novels are things like Hemingway and Fitzgerald and Natsume Soseki, who wrote Kokoro, and like...
Wait, you know Fitzgerald wrote something that isn't The Great Gatsby?
Yes, no, I'm aware that he's written things other than The Great Gatsby. I've only ever read The Great Gatsby, which is still one of my favorite books. But in those books, you can...
Old sport.
But in those books, you can barely feel the author's hand. Like, they're very, for me at least, they're extremely immersive, and sort of I go along with the flow, and it's a lot of fun. In Wildbow's work, he has a lot of just block exposition. Like, and specifically, it's block exposition that usually doesn't end up doing anything in particular. Like, I can think of a lot of examples in Ward where this becomes particularly egregious. Early on in Worm, remember, like, all those paragraphs devoted to setting up a Justin Bieber joke and then, like, a prequels joke? That felt so amateurish and almost unreadable to me. But...
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's definitely a real complaint.
I don't remember
I got my mom to start reading Worm, and that was she was like, "Why is he talking about Star Wars? I don't get it."
That's right. I forgot. I wanted you to keep me updated on.
She stopped reading.
No,
dude, she stopped reading.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the thing. It's so forgettable, and you spend all of these words, and you end up with no effective reader experience. Like, Worm is 1.6 million words long. I'm of the opinion that should be less than 1 million. Like, I think you could fully cut 40% of this story away, and it would still be fantastic.
In defense of that one specific thing, it does introduce the concept of Earth Bet and the fact that there are alternate worlds, which is pretty important.
Later
like
on, yeah.
a million fucking words in.
It's so important for the Travelers arc. For the Travelers, everybody's favorite characters.
I love Arc 17.
Real talk. I did not read Arc 17. I skipped most of it.
I've read Arc 17 exactly once. That's why I never try to fact check Arc 17.
So
Arc 20, I've read so many times.
So, to be fair, I actually do like the Traveler's story. I don't like the Traveler's story in Worm. Like, if Wildbow were to cut up Worm and make multiple different stories, and then one of them was the Travelers as these people who don't come into powers, and then just, like, you know, sort of end up transported to alternate dimensions, like, that's interesting, right? Like, you hear about all these alternate universes in DC. What about the alternate universe where there's just no one with superpowers? And instead of going there and being a god, you come from there into a universe with superheroes and supervillains, and a lot more supervillains than superheroes.
And you freak the fuck out, because...
Exactly! That would be so cool! Like, I would just read that.
We got threads of that. We got threads of that in Arc 17. Yeah. But like, I understand what you mean by, like, you want, like, a whole thing out of it.
Like, or, like, not even a whole thing. I would just, like... Honestly, I love Arc 17 as a standalone story. And also, I think Krauss is a little shit. Just, like, he's a garbage human being who... And I love reading and watching... I love reading garbage human beings. It's one of the reasons I love The Great Gatsby so much. Like...
Mood.
I'm just like, wow, all of you people are terrible. Can I just, like...
22 right there.
I mean...
Garbage human beings.
I was searching through me talking on Cauldron, and I realized I stumbled upon this message that I sent that if the Travelers arc was a fanfic, it would be a really, really shitty one, where a pro gaming team of self-inserts gets targeted by the Simurgh because of course, and of course they go straight from the really interesting city of Madison to Brockton fucking Bay because why do you have... No other city exists. Because fuck you.
Anyway,
it's such a lazy.
But yeah, more generally
fanfic.
speaking,
Ugh.
It does not feel like Wildbow actually chooses his words very well, and I think this is honestly, I think this is the result of his production style. Like, you know, he writes the stories, he has a backlog, but in Worm, the amount of editing that went into the story was
minimal.
Minimal.
Yeah, minimal. I think we had this conversation like one-on-one before, where you talked about how a lot of editing could benefit the story.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I think just a strong editor, like, specifically, it would have to be someone Wildbow respects, and who is capable of telling Wildbow this entire arc needs to go. Like, specifically, I'm thinking of multiple different professional authors who have come and lectured sort of at my college. They mentioned sometimes your editor will just put big red X's on entire chapters and say, make it better. Now, like, that's brutal, and it has resulted in some of the best literature in the world, and even non-traditional literature. For example, in Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama and his editor worked very, very hard together. And, like, I think it was either Frieza or Cell was supposed to be a one-off character, and the editor was like, no, keep that in.
Toriyama fucking hates Dragon Ball at this point. He hates it.
Oh no, he definitely hates. He may hate it, but Dragon Ball Z is like some of the best manga in history.
Toriyama's like, just fuck off and let me play Dragon Quest 11 billion. That's literally Toriyama's day. Okay, so.
I just did a lot of research into the prequels, and if only George had had an editor who could tell him.
It's not even an editor. Exactly. I feel like sometimes it's just a no man. Yeah, it's not like a yes man. It's some guy that just looks at you and goes, "No, don't do that."
Then there's a novel called World War Z, and in that novel,
there's also a movie.
There is also a movie that does exist. But in that novel, they cover sort of before the zombie war really breaks out. There's this Israeli intelligence operative who says, after the war, where the Israelis, where sort of the, like, various Middle Eastern countries sort of attacked Israel on Yom Kippur, it was the job, like, in every single group of 10 Israeli intelligence specials, is the job of one person to say, what if it was true? Like, you could have 9 people with fantastic evidence saying, like, this is a factually incorrect statement, we can safely ignore it. The last person would have to say, but what if? And go against the common grain. And it was just red teaming.
Devil's advocate, whatever you want to call it. It's important in anything, honestly. Yeah. It's important in any kind of project or anything. Okay, so going off of that, knowing that about you now, about your opinions on Worm, I'm gonna bring in the elephant in the room, and that would be collagen.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to go into a different...
I thought you were going to talk about something else entirely.
The Mpreg is completely different.
Okay, so I can say Mpreg. Mpreg. Excellent.
Okay, that's a whole entirely... That might be another episode. I don't know yet, okay?
For those viewers at home, Mpreg stands for male pregnancy.
And now that we've been demonetized for the 6th time...
Let's go for 66.
This episode is sponsored by Skillshare.
Raid Shadow Legend. Anyways,
HelloFresh.
I want to talk about collagen because this is considered one of the bigger fics in the fandom. It's something that a lot of people know about, a lot of people have read through, and it's pretty lengthy at 190,000 words. I'm not sure. Does that include the side story stuff?
Without the side story stuff, I think it's 180,000 words. With the side story stuff, including omakes, questionable kindness, including omakes that I myself have written, probably clocks in at 230,000 words, maybe 240.
Okay, so just as a side note from me, read the Vista and Kidwin side stories on collagen. They are fan-fucking-tastic.
The Vista and Kidwin thing is an epilogue. It's just epilogue V. It's,
fan-fucking-tastic. Best thing to come out of collagen.
People would fight you. People will fight you on that side story.
I welcome that. Anyway, so let's talk about collagen. So what I want to ask is just what was the decision to start writing collagen, and also specifically for you, this story had a prodigious output in the beginning. Like, it was daily almost. It was daily. The chapters were relatively polished. I don't remember because it's been a while since I read it. The chapters were good. They were lengthy, and it was just an amazing pace. So talk us through it. What was the decision to start collagen, for one? And for two is, what helps you set that kind of update pace?
Okay, so for one, the reason I wanted to do collagen was because, so I saw a lot of people shit-talking the alt-tailors, and at the time I had, done as a lot of Wormfic fans do, and just read through several million words of fanfic, a lot of which were alt-tailors.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably, more than 95% of those words were alt-tailors.
Yeah, and I'm on that boat.
Yeah. And, I saw people shit-talking it who weren't necessarily authors. And, I do believe that there's a difference between criticism and, creation. And specifically that while these two skill sets may overlap, they do not necessarily imply the other one. I was wondering, how difficult is it, actually, to get those SB likes and to, sort of write the alt-tailer?
To farm. How difficult is it really to farm?
Yeah, that was my question. And so,
That's interesting.
and so, yeah, and then I went to Wildbow, who has actually talked a little bit about how he managed to write such an ungodly number of words. And he mentioned
Ward.
Like Ward. So let's not talk, unless we want to do
we won't talk about Ward simply because we're strictly
Yeah,
Worm fanfiction, but there's a lot of words in Ward right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of words in Ward. And specifically, he mentioned I have a backlog. And so I'm like, okay, I need a backlog. Let's say we should make the chapters 2K words or longer. To put this in context, an average chapter in a novel ranges from like 3K words to 5K words. I was like, this is a reasonable length.
Okay, yeah.
So I wrote the first 10,000 words of Collagen, which were like the most alt-Taylor that I only realized were pure distilled fanfic in hindsight.
I think Gaia said like you could do a study on the first chapter of Collagen or something like that.
I'm not sure if it was Gaia, but I know that Perry has the first chapter of Collagen tattooed on her brain because she used it to write the first chapter of fan service.
Of course. Great. Now that we talk about fan service on this show, we can't continue this show anymore. See you. I'm gone.
No, come back.
Do I have to put fan service on the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Oh God. I mean, if we're gonna keep
it
it's like a Beetlejuice. If you say its name more, we have to talk about it.
All right. Okay. Fine.
But no. Anyway, so like, I want to say the first 2 chapters of Collagen are literally just backstory exposition, Lung fight, and then Lung dies.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I think I actually do start getting into a story I do want to tell, but even then, it is still... It's not quite stapled to the tracks of canon, but it is very close to it. And I go through some things, and like... One big issue...
exactly once a week. Oh, no. Never mind. 2.5, 2.6 was 2 weeks.
Yeah, or 2.5...
How dare you?
9
okay. No. There was a holiday omake there. Like, I remember...
okay.
And also, that may have been, like, the week I was in Vietnam celebrating my birthday while touring the country, for cultural reasons with my little sister. So, like...
Okay.
And I still got...
I was gonna say, like, this is like, a prodigious rate. Like, the one time I had a backlog when writing fanfiction was when I first started Sunspot, which is my OC fic.
Yeah.
And I had... Because this was for Nano, and I had a backlog of, I want to say... like 3 chapters, which was about 7,000 words, I want to say at the time. And it was just, at the time I was like, every day I'm doing okay, and I feel like I can, keep this backlog up. But then the second, like, something happened to me, like, oh, today I didn't have time to write, I need to run errands, or I was unemployed, so this day I had to go look for a job, that completely threw everything out of whack. So, like, to see this going on is fucking amazing, honestly.
Like, honestly, though, like, 90% of that is discipline, and again, alt-tailors write themselves.
I mean, discipline is a big thing, too, because you can say they write themselves, but you still went through, like, the length to put word to paper, so to speak. I feel like that's something, like, I feel like that's something a lot of people struggle with, is just maintaining that discipline.
Yeah. So, the big advantage of the backlog is that you can... So, since I was doing it...
take days off.
I can take a week off, or, like, I can write chapters and be like, this is not complete. I don't know how to complete this right now. I can take the hit and then sort of start working on the next chapter. Because, like, I had already had an extensive document where I'd plan out different things. That document, by the way, I diverged from the plot I had for Collagen a lot of different times. And
that's not surprising.
Not surprising. Every single time the one time I tried to stay on the plot was the now pretty infamous, I think, time when Tattletale tries to run to Taylor to, like, sort of get her life saved, and like it just doesn't work from a plot perspective. Like, in story it's justified, but from like a Doylean perspective, if we are allowed to do that, it was dumb.
Nope, not allowed.
Not allowed.
You're banned. Sorry. You're out. You're canceled.
All right, see y'all next week.
No, please come back, my friends. But yeah, anyway, and the changes I do make actually do reflect a criticism I think I have on Worm, which I don't think was fully answered, Word of God helped a little bit with this, but didn't help all the way. Specifically, where the hell are all the independents? Like,
Yo.
like we have.
I mean,
Taylor
she has one line where she says the city is filled with God knows how many independents.
God knows.
None of them.
So I'm not going to get into the numbers on Worm.
Who did you give us? Like Dorian Gray.
Oh boy! I got to talk about the OC capes. So
there's a bunch of original characters, and I feel like you've actually done a large number of OC and self-insert characters throughout your career, because I noticed specifically on like your oldest things on Worm Story Search is that they're exclusively on FFN, fanfiction.net.
QQ.
Oh boy, those are not Wormfic to my knowledge. They're
not.
They were Ruby fanfic.
I didn't read them.
That's a good thing. They are deleted. They are gone. Like, somebody may have archived them somewhere, and if so, you get to see me at my full edgelord status.
I mean, I think there's only one that was deleted, and that was Second Chances. I don't know what that... Okay, so I didn't even know those weren't Wormfic. I just saw them on here.
Second Chances... Wait a second. Did somebody delete Second Chances? Those motherfuckers!
It's that wasn't even... Story is unavailable for reading.
Okay, that I genuinely don't remember. Anyway,
okay. Never mind. I had this like whole question about like why did you only go on FFN, but never mind. Apparently those weren't even fucking Wormfic, so...
Rip.
I mean, I know you put Omakes for Collagen on there too, but...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Actually, that may have been Second Chances, in which case, like... I don't know why anyone would delete that. It wasn't... Oh! Maybe. It's possible that was, like, the Omake where... what's her name? White Rose gets into a bathtub in order to do a photo shoot or something. And, like, maybe the puritanical fanfic.net censors were like, time to delete this man's entire snip.
Time to delete this man's entire career.
God.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything? So I think I'm wrapped up on collagen. Etch, you have anything?
Is this already transition into MPreg?
I
don't know.
Do we have to?
I don't know.
I think it is
part of the legacy.
It's
part of the legacy.
We will touch on
swollen belly in the room.
Look, we talked about Genitalia Dick Destroyer and Chartix episode.
That's true.
So, like,
we will touch on that. Give me one small bit first, because I want to talk to Top about broken mirrors, black cats, and other wonderful things.
Wonderful things?
Yes.
I love...
Oh, and after that, I want to talk about Last Call, because I like
Yes, Last Call. We
Great,
did talk about Last Call on the One Who Was His episode, too. But
I love both of those things.
Just for the sake of continuity.
Yeah. Broken Mirrors, Black Cats, and Other Wonderful Things is an original character fanfiction set in Brockton Bay. So, Top, is there anything else you would like to add on to that pitch, or is that just this base pitch good enough?
It represents, I want to say, at least 15% of the male-male relationships in the fandom.
I was going to go for a solid 30, but,
No, I've done the math. I collectively have written roughly a quarter, either between a quarter and a half of the male-male relationships in the fandom.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Have you checked QQ for these stats?
I have not checked QQ because I literally cannot...
I'm, like, shaking my head right now. You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head.
I can't go on QQ looking for smut. Like, it's just going to be bad. There's one good QQ smut fic, which now that I'm about to mention it, you will have to put in the description with a disclaimer. And it actually, no, wait, that's not a Worm fanfic. Never mind. It's a Ward fic.
Oh.
That would be two disclaimers.
That would be two disclaimers, yeah.
Oh, wait, can I still mention it?
I mean, you can name drop it, but like,
how are we gonna tell people that if we talk about spoilers, this is time to stop listening? I guess fast forward.
Can I just drop?
We can't. We're not. Thanos can't like come in and tell people about like, please skip to 1845.
Okay, so let's name drop it, and then we'll move on to Broken Mirrors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rat Catch.
Cool. Cool.
Okay, there.
Also supply a link for me because I couldn't find it just now. But
okay. 1 second.
Broken Mirrors, Black Cats, and Other Wonderful Things. This is
Eli.
This is an original character interacting with Brockton Bay. And so this is something I asked the One Who Was It too. It's just did you have expectations for, like, what kind of expectations did you have when you start writing an original character fic? That's a very loaded question, but I'm going to stick with it.
Okay, so my immediate assumption is that original character fics will not be read by anyone I do not tell about them. So, like, specifically, yeah. So in Worm, I think, in the Worm fandom specifically, I think almost no one wants to hear about your cool OC. It's a little bit like the Ruby fandom, which is where I was initially writing fanfic, and also like the Overwatch fandom, where I also wrote fanfic. And from those, I took the lesson.
Wrote Overwatch fanfic. Holy shit!
I've literally an entire
the developers over at Blizzard are really good at it.
Fuck.
I mean,
God.
you're not wrong.
God damn.
Suck it, Kaplan.
Anyway,
Suck it, Jeff.
Anyway, but, like, I think I sympathize with that because I've been the person who says, I don't want to hear about your shitty Ruby OC, because a very good amount of the time, they are absolutely not worth my effort in order to read and understand them, because, like, a lot of the people who can make Ruby OCs do kind of end up writing realistic, or rather, their own original fiction. Now, where this argument breaks down is that sometimes the world building in stories is absolutely fantastic. And specifically, the power system they generate allows you to explore different types of characters, which an original fic, like, sort of, it would be plagiarism in.
Yes, so, exactly.
So, for instance, like, in Ruby, I would be interested in reading a Ruby fanfic about a marketer, somebody who works with huntsmen and huntresses to basically make sure that people stay happy in a city, and sort of how, I don't want to say social engineering, because that's like a hacker man term, but like
hacker man.
But how, like, image department, or like in Worm, how does image work? And
Glenfic?
Fuck. I think I already mentioned that is what I'm writing in Chartix episode, which will come out before yours. Hopefully,
Absolutely.
By the time this episode comes out, I'll have more product to show for that idea, but it's coming eventually.
But yeah, and specifically in Worm, I think you have the ability to ask questions. If you have a world where people who are unusually fucked up by definition, and specifically, trigger events aren't just generically bad things, they're unusually bad things that are not only the worst day in your life, but worse than everybody else's worst day around you. Unless, of course, unless, like, it's a cluster trigger, in which case it's so many people's unusually worst days. And it's a very interesting metaphor for trauma. And so if you want to write an OC fic, like, I don't want to say capes are probably necessarily unhinged psychopaths barely capable of interacting with a human being in a non-violent manner, but, like...
Man, you're going to be so disappointed when you actually read Sunspot now.
But, like, I do think, like, it creates this area where you can have people who are bad people trying to deal with their own issues and then literally can't move past it. So, like, Eli Shane in Black Cats has a power which lets him very easily leave any social situation. He's a stranger mover. He is impossible to pin down, and if he doesn't want to deal with something, he can just leave. Now imagine if you have all of that, plus, like, very high functioning autism.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
then, like...
That's the combination that Eli is dealing with.
Yeah, he's dealing with sort of... Like, he's a stranger mover, and I think we saw this a little bit with Velocity, and we got a lot more in Word of God rather than canon.
Just neom.
Yeah, Velocity doesn't want to interact with other human beings. He just wants to learn languages and travel around. And, like, being here is a way to do that. And specifically, it makes sense that he went into the military, wanting to learn a bunch of things, became disillusioned, and then eventually
you're stuck in the military. He didn't realize you get stuck in the fucking military. Yeah,
exactly.
You're fucked, kid. You're fucked.
Exactly, and I think Worm actually is a good background for OCs. One, because we only spend time in Brockton Bay for most of Worm. And
we spent 2 chapters in Chicago.
Cease.
And 3 years, but we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about the time skip. But, and I think Worm is actually a good place to do... Worm would be a great place to do OC fics if people actually read them.
I mean, for my OC fic, I literally just repurposed my DC fanfic for it.
I think a I've mentioned this, but the first ever idea for a worm fic I had was sort of a weird ripoff of The Incredibles, with an OC fic of like a family, all with superpowers except for like one kid who was super bitter all the time.
Is this the
Brockton Bay
Dallins?
during the time skip? What'd you say?
No, but like you just described the Dallins before Vicky Trigger. Hello?
No, not the Dallins. It was
The Pelhams, rather.
Fic. No, in my head it was basically just the family from Incredibles, because I have no originality or imagination.
No,
but it was at least going to be OC fic, and then instead I wrote Through the Looking Glass, and I killed Taylor, so that was fun.
Delete.
Delete. I mean, you got mileage out of that fic. You brought it back.
I did. People were pissed.
Yep.
It's fun though. It's fun.
I was gonna say. Oh, that's right. I was gonna say something. Speaking of families things, that's a great idea you had, Etch, and you should write it. But also, you should write more Potions and Parahumans first.
Okay.
It's the sound of my soul leaving my body.
Also, did you? Oh, sorry. Continue.
Another question I had about Broken Mirrors is, I want to know what your, like, how do I say this? Like, what made you interested in the prospect of an original character? And then also to tack onto that is there any other reason that you decided to set it in Brockton Bay as opposed to, say, another city in America?
Honestly, because in other fandoms, there are places where, like, an OC or a self-insert or something will interact with the main cast. And, like, it always confused me that never happened in the Worm fandom. Or, like, you have a bajillion different Twilight fics, for instance, where the main character is like, some random OC, which is a thinly veiled self-insert, who is, in fact, the real true love of Jacob. Or not Jacob.
Or Bella.
Edward.
Or whatever.
Or whatever exactly. Doesn't matter. And I honestly was like, Brockton Bay, if you just dropped a random cape in there who was like fucked up and told their story, that would be pretty interesting. Like, you don't need anyone native to it. And sort of I saw it as an interesting place to drop a character. And as for like, why would I do an original character fic after doing Collagen? It was again because I saw people like, talking about original character fics. And I was like, how hard would that be? And, like, Nana was coming up. I was in London taking 16 credits that felt like 8. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And so what I would do is I'd
wake up... out 42,000 words, and then Last Call along with that.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Last Call was, like, in the last 10 days... the something 10 days before my birthday or something. But, so I would wake up in the morning at 6 a.m., or, well, a little bit before 6 a.m. at like 5:30 or something, and get on the bus to the Queen Mary College in London. I'd hide up on the second floor of one of their libraries, and I would write 1,000 words. And that would just be the chapter.
Jesus.
And it's so easy, memes. Just write the words you want.
Okay, look, I've been staring at Chapter 9 of I Need Some Space for so fucking long.
I've been staring at Chapter 3 of Potions and Parahumans for 2 fucking years.
Literally,
so you can...
literally for me, it's like I wake up, I go to write, and I'm just like, I fret too much. I fret too damn much. Like, I write something, and then I go, what if it's not good enough? I write something, and I go, well, this doesn't gel well, and then I can go for a while and go, shit, but then this doesn't work over here. I edit as I write, and it's like really bad. So it's like I can't imagine just like. I miss the days when I can just sit down and just chug, just pump out a couple thousand words.
Yeah, no, that is... I don't want to say it's like a talent you have to... Or like, not even a talent, it's like
a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill of being like, it's shit, I'll write it anyway, but even then, you don't literally just write 1,000 words of shit a day. I think we can all think of situations where an author has written 1,000 words of shit a day, and like, this is... Without going into personal attacks, because I actually do admire...
We're not naming names.
No. I was thinking specifically... I do think there's a difference between Ward and Worm, and specifically, Worm, like, yes, it was written without editing, but it had several years of thinking behind it. Like, I think Wild Bill has mentioned about the production of Worm, is that he's tried various different viewpoints, he's thought about a lot of different things, he's written huge segments. Like, we have like
we have the events that led up to that Thursday. We have Guts and Glory.
Guts and Glory.
Yes, Guts and
Glory. Elite One.
Circus,
we have a shitload of that stuff.
Disaster Area.
Yeah,
exactly.
God.
Which is the original draft for Fault Line Chen. Magical Girl
Melanie
Go.
Fitz puts on her felony mitts. God damn. Someone needs to write that as an unironic line in a fucking fanfic. I swear to God.
But yeah, no, exactly. Like, for all the fact that people say Worm is a first draft, first off, it's not. First draft implies an existence of the second. When we're not getting an edited Worm.
In 20 years, you'll be the one laughing.
No, I won't, because
I'll be the one laughing.
No, because we'll all be dead. But anyway, more seriously though,
can't see me, but I just dabbed at that.
We've had like 5 first drafts of Worm. Meanwhile, like, again, without getting into spoilers, because I know that some people are reading Word, they do intend to enjoy it, and if you do read Word and enjoy it, like, power to you. When I read Word, I can see very clearly that the story wants to either be from a different perspective, or written in a different way, or be multiple different stories split off into their own area where, sufficient attention can be paid to them. I think Worms, we saw a little bit of this, where, like, you read about some cool side character who is never mentioned again. Rest in peace, Raymancer. We stan you.
Bro, Raymancer!
Raymancer! Or like all of the... Or like
shows
all
up,
the
gets cancer, and dies.
What's his name? That guy that, like, Legend is, like, looking through the files, and he's like, there's that PRT mole who's a superhero. Love that, man. And, like, that's the last mention
I'm
of him.
surprised you didn't bring
ever.
up Jeffrey Clayton.
Jeffrey
personality.
I can't bring up Jeffrey Clayton, because I know he was always destined to be a side character, but that guy wasn't. You know what?
Yeah.
Michael, what's his face?
Something
was
or other.
actually going to be, like, in a spin-off official Worm, like, series.
Wait, what?
That just got canceled.
Which
yeah.
dude?
Wildbow. There's this fucking guy, Arthur Morgan or Morgan Keane.
What?
You never heard of him?
What?
No, not Morgan Keane.
Morgan Key
Fucking. There's this guy. Is it Morgan
is
Keane?
a parahuman with the PRT who serves multiple roles within the organization, primarily as an ambassador.
Capital A?
Triggered eventually started working for the PRT. The fact that he's a parahuman in service to the PRT is a well-kept secret in the organization.
Here it is. Trivia was the creation of another author that was going to be a part of a spin-off miniseries, currently on indefinite hold.
So yeah, but like, exactly, or sort... Anyway.
Huh.
So there is room, and your point is very, very clear. There is room for other characters to have their stories told in the Wormverse.
Convinced the Yang
that cannot be made.
He convinced the Yangban to assist in New Delhi.
What the fuck?
That was
the what?
Glazed over.
So okay, that's another thing, like, major great with Worm. Wildbow does not know international. Like, I'm very convinced that, like, I don't want to say he lives under a rock, but, like, you describe a city of 350,000 people as one of the top 10 cities by, like, of per capita population in the United States. Boy, you're missing a 0 on the upper end of American city populations. Like, that doesn't make the top 100 cities in the that barely makes the top 100 cities in the United States. Like, it would become the number 2 city in the Northeast Coast, though. Like, to be fair. In New England, it would become the number 2 city. New York?
New York is not part of New England. Those Yankee bastards will never get their fucking paws on that title.
Okay, fine. Sectionalism aside,
you are not New England. You are not.
We're the northeast of the United States.
No, you are not part of New England, okay? The New England is 6 states, and if we could, we would cut off half of Connecticut.
Oh, wait, that's right. Memes is Canadian, right?
You son of a bitch!
Get the fuck out. But no, like,
you better run, Top.
So let's conservatively, but the fact is, China has more than 1 billion people in it. So, like,
the Yangban does not make sense.
The Yangban does not make sense. I actually do, though. I will give Wildbow credit. I love the idea of the Indian Cape scene. Of just like,
but like, also to give him credit, like, the idea of the Yangban is fascinating. The CUI is fascinating for me to think about. You know, as a fucking first generation Chinese immigrant, it's like, what would happen if the monarchy did resurge in that country? It'd be weird.
Yeah,
it's good to think about.
Anyway, that's a lot of Worm. Good to think about, and then you do some, like, I don't want to say basic math, but like either back of the envelope math or like the parts don't mesh together correctly, or I don't know.
But that's fun. I feel like we're in the business of fan fiction, as I always say, and in the business of fan fiction, we like making shit up. Most of the shit is just completely made up. Like, you know, the numbers are made up and the parahumans don't matter. That's literally the name of the game here.
I love it.
So
anyway,
I guess I can excuse that mostly.
Can the Seer and the Fog make that one into an Emboar banner?
Speaking of authors,
if you're listening,
speaking of authors of fanfic,
the Seer and the Fog, we love you.
Wait, real quick. Speaking of this, I want to give a shout out to Reddit user Seer in the Fog. Thank you for this entire Imgur album of basically memes about this podcast.
It's so
we love
good.
you. You're great. Never stop being you.
It will be linked in the description.
It will be linked in the description, and thank you.
Yeah, we're going to put it in the fucking spreadsheet. We're going to do that. It's not even a joke.
Thank you for posting my face over clock blockers and making it look like he's holding 2 cups in one hand. It's genius. You're a great dude. You're a great man. Or woman. Or whatever you are. You're doing great, buddy. You're doing good.
Okay. Okay, then. What's next?
I have not ran out of questions, but I've ran out of... 1 second.
Taoist Mystery is DMing me, asking me to unmute him on Cauldron. I'm not a moderator.
What?
I'm not a moderator.
That's amazing. Okay, we're keeping that in the episode.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a part of the lore.
That's part of the lore now.
The deep lore.
Oh, there's something I also want to touch on because you produce probably one of my favorite series of short snippets in the entire fandom, and that is Dad Cord and Daughter Tale.
Aww,
yes!
They're so cute together, but like not in a romantic sense. But like this is a interesting family dynamic.
I love these two and their fucking hijinks. I love how horrible these two are to each other. I love how much they love each other. So with that,
it's a hell of an Oedipal complex.
Talk to me about the creation of this masterpiece known as Dad Cord.
So first off, it was actually part, I think, of a competition. I can't remember if it was.
It was Cauldron Cup. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it may have been Cauldron Cup, or it could have been PCT. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Cauldron Cup, but
I'll take your word for it. So yeah.
Cauldron Cup is a competition held on the Cauldron Discord server where authors submit in a tournament, and they fight each other in real life with swords.
And then, then also their snips.
I got stabbed by Colossal Mistake like half a year ago. You just straight up stabbed me. You just walked in and be like, yo, what's up? And then just pulled a knife on me.
PETA Enigma snapped me like Thanos.
Anyway, so I got Accord and Lisa. And I can't I think it was supposed to be a comedy snip of some sort. Which I think it worked very well for. But when I think of these two characters, their most, I think, memorable interaction worm is when Lisa, with this massive fucking headache, is needling Accord about what he can and cannot do in the city. And Accord himself is like mentally resisting the urge to just kill her.
Yeah, but that's interlude, I want to say 20. I want to say that, no, it's interlude, it's like the first one of 20, interlude 20.y. Love that like chapter.
So I think about that situation, or like, I think about people who hate each other. I think there's a lot of truth to this saying, no one hates like family. Or I'm probably butchering it in some way. But, so anecdotally speaking, the amount of shit my brother and my father and my sister, well, my brother and my father give me and I give in return is like grounds for a lawsuit in most countries. But like, we still love each other. Like, I would still probably commit an unreasonable number of felonies to keep my brother out of jail. Like, if you've ever... I
agree. I get you. I have a younger brother. I know what that feels like.
Or, like, has anyone here ever seen Hell or High Water?
No. You're asking us if we've seen a movie before. As many people have found out, that's not a good thing to ask.
So anyway,
no.
Hell or High Water, it's great. It's probably on Netflix. It's about a pair of brothers who start robbing banks in order to pay the mortgage on this land, in order to ensure one brother's family basically gets to live gets to live a normal life, and his son can go play ball or go to college or do whatever. And it's the most heartwarming thing in the world, which also is about a pair of people going around robbing banks. And specifically, those two brothers, they'll, like, do stupid shit to one another, but they do love each other. Like, this is a guy who is a convicted felon agreeing to, at minimum, serve several decades in prison so his nephew can have a good life for the rest of his life. And I really sympathize with that in a real way. And when I think of, like, Accord and Lisa, I think of I call him Atticus in my fic. I think of, like, two people.
I love that name. I love it so much.
It's so good.
Fucking To Kill a Mockingbird is in contention for my favorite book of all time. It's competing against Catch-22. Those are the two up there.
Great literature hours. Anyway, they're both thinkers. They both think way too fucking much. Both of them are, like, the sort of people who can't stand to lose in a social situation. And I'm like father, like daughter. Or like daughter, like father, or whatever the hell the way it's supposed to go. And I could just see the two of them, like, being incapable of losing a social situation to one another, but both of them know that the other person is incapable of losing, but they also can't show that because they're so unbelievably insecure. So it's almost like a romantic comedy of a will they, won't they, but instead of being, like, romantic love, it's just like,
familiar.
How do I tell this person I don't hate them?
Yeah. And that's really good. I really like the dynamic you've made of these two, and, like, how Citrine in one of the chapters is just like, I can't fucking deal with this. I swear to God, I'm gonna beat the shit out of both of you. It's like, it's great. I love it.
She's growing up. No, we must stop this at once.
Because I want to keep on talking about this because one of my biggest things, I guess, with stories I create or stories I would like to create is usually themes of family. Like, I love stories that have big themes of family. In case you couldn't tell, I write this entire fucking fic about,
I need some space!
two sisters loving each other. I write this whole other fic about Danny Heber finding love again, and then, like, this family trying to heal. I love the theme of family, and I love stories about family. So, like, Dad Cord holds this really, really special place in my heart because of it. Because I feel like a lot of stories, well, not many stories touch on those themes in ways that really appeal and speak to me. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, or like Dad Cord came out of that, and then one, I heard that you loved it, and I was like, there's probably two snips in here. It. And then 2 became 3, became 4. And then I think, well, by the time this episode comes out, and I don't particularly care about spoiling Etch, there will be 5.
Yes. This one I do know.
So yeah, for the Secret Santa, I wrote a Dad Cord snip, because, like, sort of, I was a pinch hitter, somebody bailed, no shame, by the way, like, if you can't do something, you can't do something, thank you for telling us several weeks ahead of time so I could pick it up and then write it. And just, I was like, what has more family sense than the winter fucking holidays, right?
Oh, God. That's why I love Christmas. I love any holiday that brings people together. I sound like a fucking suburban dad. Fuck me. I'm 22. God damn it. This is bullshit.
No, it's nice. It's nice.
Unless you, like, somehow miraculously produce the next several episodes of this podcast, I will also be 22 when this comes out. New Year's birthday?
Oh shit. Damn. Wow.
Shit, dog.
That's easy to remember.
Oh yeah, makes checking my ID real easy.
Mine's fucking Bastille Day.
Yeah, no, I don't got that one.
I have Bastille Day.
I've just... The biggest thing I've got is the anniversary of the No Man's Sky DLC release date. So
you can just search, important events in history during XYZ.
Okay.
Yeah, probably, but I was researching No Man's Sky today, and it was just like, oh, that's my birthday when they released that. That's cool.
Day. Okay, so I guess we have to talk about it.
No Man's Sky?
Sure.
No.
Alright, Top.
Yo.
Talk to me about male pregnancy.
Wonderful! I'm so glad you asked! So...
you got 4 minutes, go.
Okay, whoa, wait. Okay, so first off, the gist of it roughly is that one, I'm interested into. So, in case you don't know, I'm rather queer. I prefer to use they, them pronouns if at all possible, and yeah, that's a thing. And specifically, I find male pregnancy fascinating because it came up in a seminar I was taking on Milton, as if in the Milton who wrote Paradise Lost. And specifically, the prof raised this point about
Bible
the numerous.
fanfic.
Yep. First off, Bible fanfic. Second, the numerous instances of male creator figures, more or less giving birth.
Zeus
And-
has a couple.
Yep, Zeus has a couple. Literal God has a couple. If you go into other traditions, there's a lot of it going around there. And just generally speaking, there's a lot of men giving birth to something.
Palpatine.
Yes. Spoilers for the Rise of Skywalker, but nobody cares.
No. That's a spoiler for the Phantom Menace, dude. He's Anakin's dad.
They elaborated on this in a comic.
Yeah. It's been canon since
This is George Lucas's
2005.
Okay, so first off, die in a fire. This is why the EU needed to go. But more seriously,
the actual EU.
No, it was recanonized. It was recanonized.
Kidius,
Don't worry.
So yeah, Kidius, I think, mentioned this when she was she was learning about me, sort of passively reading stuff. I was like, yo, normally when I see Mpreg stuff, it's biological absolutism and this very turfy side of gender and women and sexuality studies. But I don't get that vibe from you, so what's up with that? And I sort of didn't know about that previously and mentioned that I just find it hilarious that in academia, the study of male pregnancy is a valid and reasonable thing you can base an essay on and get published in an academic journal with.
It's academia. You could do that. I saw a published essay about the mechanics of chickens in video games.
Yeah, no. But no, that's exactly.
That was at PAX East. I saw it. It was an entire presentation. It was an hour.
Point. But if you go to that on AO3 and look up Mpreg, you're not going to like what you find. And specifically, I find it interesting to be able to combine two things I love, writing fanfic, and then also sort of the study of literature. And in this way, I think I've written a lot of memes, which I send directly to Perry in order to provide her with something to bleach her brain. As you do. By the way, DM Perry all of your Mpreg fanfics. Do it. On Discord.
Yes, the many I have in my Google Drive all the time.
But the other thing I do with it is that I what's the word for? I also try to say, how do you make an Mpreg fanfic that isn't bad? And usually, the first one I think I did with serious intent was that I had Aegis get knocked up by Taylor.
I remember this.
Yes,
I remember this.
I've read that one, I think.
Exactly. It's a teenage pregnancy story, except Aegis is the one who gets pregnant, right?
Yes.
Okay, what other, reasonably wholesome Mpreg have I written? Let me pull up my AO3 accounts.
Oh, I just closed that tab. Okay, here we go.
Top Hat on AO3. Not T0PH4T, but straight up
You have
Top
Blonde
Hat.
Thinker Origins, which...
I
still haven't, got that cleansed from my soul.
There's also Blonde Brute Origins.
Of course. Of course there is.
Anyway, no, that one actually is cursed. Heart's
That
Desire,
one is just a shitpost.
What's the one where Valence shows up?
Valence. Oh, I remember this.
that?
The real reason Browbeat died. So in case you don't know or have read Worm for the first time very recently, Browbeat was more or less forgotten about in the majority of story. Oh boy, also right, it's time. Or should we mention
No,
time?
keep going.
No, keep
Anyway,
going.
so-
Wormhole still has
Wildbow-
treadmill. Go.
Okay. Go, wormhole. Wildbow essentially, I don't want to say retconned, but edited the text of Worm to include the death of Browbeat.
To include Leviathan kicking the shit out of him, yep.
Yep. But also, he released a word of God in response to something else on how a ward would deal with teenage pregnancy.
I remember that, because
I have
think
this-
I think it's pinned.
It is. I'm not sure if it's pinned. I do have it saved.
Oh, no.
He says, "What have
It's
I
the
done?"
What have I done? And I'm-
Directly after.
It's the first thing that shows up when you open the link to the real reason Browbeat disappeared.
Yep.
It's
so
a screenshot.
Yeah, and basically Wild Blow explained that was a body double.
Wild Blow?
Wild Blow!
Some real Freudian hours right now.
So yeah, anyway, Wild Blow was like, yeah, no, that was jokingly said that was a body double. And so Valence and I were like, you realize we have to write this now. And the real reason that Brownbee disappeared was because he got pregnant with Clockblocker's child, who could not be aborted because he kept freezing the deuterus.
Oh, man.
You're welcome.
All right, so with those facts and that fic and that conversation,
Love him or hate him,
Fresh.
he's spitting straight facts.
fresh in our minds, let us move on to the very last section. Let's rapid fire this. Quick Rex, quick shills. What do you want people to read in the Worm fandom this whatever time limit this episode's releasing on this month?
Life bends down!
He's been waiting for that the whole time.
Every single time, recommend Life Bend Down. I recommend Last Call, which I worked on with The One Who Was, who actually I think is some of the best OC writing in the fandom. Felix Fortuna by Chartic. I recommend Loaf, Tank, Eric, Terminus, and anything Maroon Sweater might come out between the recording and production of this episode. I recommend Need Some Space and Beautiful by Dank Memes, also known as Misha.
Dank
I
Meme
recommend
6969.
No, Dank Meme 6969.
Sorry, Dank Meme 6969. Eclair de Lune by TM Thesaurus. Veracity by Lyova. Turn Your Eyes by Alice, also known as Old Amsterdam.
Veracity.
I recommend Bobble by Op Arrow. I recommend Lend Me Your Ears by Crab. I recommend Bubbles Always Pop by Sky.
This is gonna all be in the fucking spreadsheet.
It's fine. I'll do it. I'll do
my
it.
God.
Send me the rough. I'll do it.
I will. I'm also reading this off of Lifts. I'll just send you that.
That's perfect.
Email.
Actually.
Mission
Good,
Swords Caught
good.
in Your Web and Gaia Snip Thread, Scenes from an Earthly Mind, which is just unbelievably good quality content. I recommend. And
Also, Purple Morning
also
is on there.
Also, so many different things.
Wow.
And finally, I recommend, this is like the oldest thing I think we have. I Am a Robot's snip thread called My Name is Taylor Hebert, because it is entirely snips, all Taylor snips, but told through a satirical lens. Or, like, crushingly depressive.
I Am a Robot is a name I haven't heard in a long
Yeah,
time.
Chris is on that, Either it's a shitpost or it's soul-crushingly depressing.
Yeah, I know. So, like, they were known as Chris Raw when they were on Cauldron. They are no longer not on Cauldron, and I think that's where the conversation should end.
Outro! Oh,
No,
wait!
wait, hold on,
more
hold
Rex.
on.
That's
hold
right,
on.
you too.
I have things to say.
chills.
What about you, mate?
What about
Worst Girls by Tway, In Golden Armor, Typewriter, the usual suspects. Mank.
I'm...
Recommend my snip thread.
Yes, read the fucking Dad Court snips. Maybe read the other things too. I don't care if you do. Read the Dad Court ones though. Good lord, those are good.
This episode's probably going to come out after they're already de-anonized, so please check out my snip thread, because I will have posted my Secret Santa snip for, well, I'm going to say it because none of you are going to say it to her, TM Thesaurus, and she has standards.
Fucking hell.
So, I'm so fucked.
I want this. I want this to be like somehow you just forget to upload it, and then this episode comes out and it's just not there.
I will be. You are writing for someone with a
what?
PhD in linguistics. I hope you're ready.
God, I'm so fucked.
We believe in you.
Oh God, the 2 prompts I got were so good. They were someone testifying in front of like the Senate committee for like caped activities, and an 8-year-old girl discovering her next door neighbor is Eidolon.
What?
And, I would read a full fucking length novel of the
Meanwhile,
first one.
I got this is
court
coming out after
hearings.
Christmas. Meanwhile, I got Duskies, which is the prompt I chose was the Slaughterhouse 9 trying to make a Hallmark movie. So
Oh, you sent me the first
I
page of that.
scrapped
so good.
my entire first draft. I am going to send Dusky a script. It's not a fic. This is just a script.
I mean,
I'm giving her nothing else.
I think Dusky though works in TV, so I think that'll go over well.
Oh fuck!
Oh,
this is
shit,
going to be
really?
so bad then, because I'm using dumb. You know what I've written for Dramatis Persona? I've written Burn Scar as the key grip because fire is a good light source.
What the fuck?
The key grip. The key grip is the person on set responsible for all the lights.
What the fuck?
Do you want me to? You know what? Okay, we're just gonna end this episode, and then I'll just DM you a screenshot of the first 2 pages.
Okay.
Thank you all for listening
to this
episode.
But wait, I have more about
episode of
Emboar.
Emboar.
Nope. That's
No. Okay. Thank you.
putting you back.
No, don't yank me off the